Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Friday night with my sun-kissed head, a little halo. And welcome to our another week with our fabulous guest co-creatrix, Megan. Welcome. Thank you for
Hello,
hanging out
hello.
with us.
I love your sunny open crown.
Yes, I know. So beautiful, right? This is
It
what
is.
happens when the season changes. I never know where the sun is really going to go. It's like if I move here or move here, the sun is just the sun.
Well, it makes me almost like in my mind just now. I was like, ooh, extra potent messages from Hillis during the summer as like Ra filters information through the channel as we speak.
Yeah, exactly. And so, just a real quick announcement, everyone. Rebecca does plan on joining us next week.
Yay!
So stay tuned for that next week on the 31st, I guess. I don't know what day it is anymore.
I do believe that's the 31st. Thou art correct.
Yes, so can't wait. Not saying that you are the joy as always, but it's Rebecca.
It's Rebecca. This is my spiritual mom. I more cannot wait to pass the crown back to her, waiting crown for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. And so, there's been a lot of things that has been in my vision this week. And especially now as we are moving into 5D or bringing 5D to us on this planet in this realm of energy as we're bringing all this newness here, right? One of the things that really stuck out to me was how humanity has mimicked itself, you know? And I'm just thinking about it on a cellular level, right? We have cells that replicate themselves that do what the other cell does. And basically, we as humans, as humanity, mimic the same behavior. We replicate ourselves and perform similar certain tasks based on what we have seen throughout our life as children all the way up to adults. Everything from, walking to talking to simple or complex functions. And it really gave me one to say, what is it that we are like really limiting ourselves to if we, not and I'm not and then like presently in this context, I'm not uh considering the geniuses, like Albert Einstein or Nicholas Tesla. They opened up to other energies, but I mean in the collective sense, in the mass sense of, what do we now have to allow ourselves to mimic collectively to get to that next space? I mean, it's just interesting in how we're here right now.
Hmm. Well, I know that I would say that we should stop mimicking each other and start going back to mimicking nature. Yes, mimicking each other doesn't seem to be going all that well in many ways. But usually when we mimic nature, we learn something. It sort of helps us, brings us forward, shows us a way, and as Earth changes, and I've been spending a lot of time with the Law of One books, and as the dimensionalities shift, and as not only the Earth has to adjust to that new magnetism, but we do as well. Um, I think that Earth will follow the lead faster than us because we have this in the way, and so it would. I think or potentially speculate that going back to mimicking more nature, learning from that space as opposed to trying to replicate each other, right? We just had a whole chat about the dangers of, viruses coming in and replicating. They're changing all of the cells to be itself, and it becomes a problem. And so maybe we can learn something from that.
I like that, and really appreciate that. And first, just want to say welcome and hello, Susie. Thank you
I
for
see.
being here. And actually, I think this is the first time I noticed that you changed your name to your actual name. So I applaud you for doing that actual, allowing yourself to be seen in the world, Susie. So thank you for that.
Mm.
Um, but what I find fascinating is that when you talk about us going back to mimic nature and how nature, with the proper conditions, is taken care of. It has what it needs when the conditions are met. We have everything, and it's a process that can't be rushed. It's a process that has to take its time. Everything has to be fertile. Everything has to just be right. And I remember one night I was doing medicine, and there was these bioluminescent mushrooms.
Ooh.
It was the perfect, most beautiful thing I've ever seen because I've never seen bioluminescent mushrooms. And months went by, and I thought about them again. I'm like, huh, let me like actually look this up and see what it is. And of course, I remember hearing that night as well, but this just confirmed it that it has to be the right conditions. It has to be at a certain temperature, with
Mm.
a certain humidity, with certain this and certain, and with all these conditions. And that night, it was perfect for these bioluminescent mushrooms to show up. And I'm like,
Mhm.
how amazing is that?
Mhm.
And it just really speaks to humanity as we have created this instant gratification society where everything is now. Started with microwaves and cell phones back in the 70s, having creating this instant now,
Mhm.
which is great for the space of consumerism. But at the same time, what are we allowing ourselves to consume? What are we allowing ourselves to move further away from? And as I think about this is how, Atlantis and Lemuria and all these great civilizations got in trouble. They moved further and further away from nature. And so you're right. We have to get back. We have to move back into that space.
Well, I loved what you were saying about, the perfect conditions, right? Like mycelial network, and it's got to be the perfect conditions. It brings nutrients needed by this tree from this tree if this one's lacking, and what do we do in life when we see what is often like a sort of contrived depiction of something anyway, which is really easy to do with social media and so on. What do we do to our path, ourselves, the things that are truly waiting to unfold within us when instead of allowing the perfect conditions to show themselves to us internally, we say, I really like what Hillis has going. I think I'll do that. Right? Like,
Yeah,
well, no, that's for Hillis. Why don't you let him do that? And why don't you spend time more creating the perfect conditions inside of you that what's meant, made, and destined for you is what unfolds. Therefore, you don't waste time, or you waste less time, probably, because you're not
exactly.
following everybody else's things to realize that's not my thing, that's Hillis's thing, and my
Yeah.
thing's over there. But yeah, there's also in the mimicking of each other, I think that we can create a lot of rushing.
Oh yeah. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, and two things came into my mind, and hopefully I can beautifully intertwine these as they're almost two separate thoughts. But what I find fascinating is that in the space of us rushing through this is the energy of stress,
Mhm.
and how we allow for the energy of stress to create these desires, not requirements, but desires of us wanting to be like someone else, or to have what someone else has, or to uh, be in this space of, man, I want to have it now. I want to have it now, and so we get all stressed out. But the beauty that really is unfolding here, just like us humans, there's over 100,000 species of mushrooms, right? in this network. And so the mushrooms are the great teachers because there's different ones. They all do different things, but they all have the same base network and functionality. And the beauty of this is, and this may sound a little gross when I say this, but about a few weeks ago, there was a dead rat. Okay, and so my roommate disposed of this rat. And so after he disposed of it, and mind you, I didn't see the whole thing, but there was a giant mushroom, maybe about that big, around it
Huh.
to help decompose of the rat.
Wow.
And like about a day or two after the rat was gone, the mushroom disappeared. I'm like, where'd the mushroom go? Not that I would eat it, but
Yeah.
it's just fascinating in how when the right conditions are met, everything comes together in nature the way that it's supposed to. But when we tend to force things in the stressful environment that we have created for ourselves, living on this planet, living in these communities, living in these different spaces, there's nothing can truly thrive in the essence or the space of stress when everything is rushed. And I know I've done it with plants. I think I killed a plant by adding too much fertilizer to it once. But
Oh
we'll
boy.
see what happens when we think we know stuff and things just up and die. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
let's not talk about how many plants I overwatered, right? You want more? You want more? It's you're looking sad. You must need more, And eventually my mom, who's just always had the greenest thumb, was like, they need less. You need to calm down. Put your
But
finger in there and see if it's dry in the roots, and then add water because you're drowning everything. And it was me rushing. It's me rushing everything.
yeah, to get to that final product, because that's what we have been so obsessed with.
Yep.
And this is the beauty that the Chihuahua is. It's a very ancient tree, the tallest tree in the Amazon, the most beautiful canopies that it creates, and 1,000-year-old tree. I mean, just imagine how I would be if I was 1,000 years old. I mean, you can't
Huh.
rush it. And so, I think here, what we talked about, mimicking, going back to what you talked about, mimicking nature. Got to go back to the original. The divine blueprint is in nature. The divine blueprint is knowing that we are already taken care of, but we keep living, and I know I'm super guilty of it right now, is wanting to be at that place, that threshold of having a life where you are sustained and everything's taken care of, and but we are often going off working to our jobs and doing this and doing that, things that don't satisfy us or fulfill us because we have to, especially now how things are. And so what better way can we allow ourselves to mimic each other by finding someone who is on that path that you desire, to be, like that 1,000-year-old tree or that newborn plant that's ready to go grow and blossom and to become something majestic, but you have to have that patience to do so.
You made me think of castor. If I was gonna mimic a plant, I would be a castor plant. That's me. Uh,
I have to
and
I don't know I have to find one. I don't know what it looks like.
oh my god, they're gorgeous, and they're just gorgeous. I love them. They're beautiful, and they can get really, really tall in tropical environments, and I've learned so much from going and sitting in, on the herb farm. We call it the portal of power, which is the row that they are in. And like when they're big, I can go sit inside of them. And I try to energetically mimic them and chat with them and get information about what and how and who they are. And I've gotten a lot of information from that, and certainly that has felt much more fruitful than me
Oh, well,
rushing.
you can't see it. Is that it? Is that one?
Yes, that's one of them. Yeah, they have some that have green pods, some are a little more purpley. They also call it the palm of Christi, palm of Christ, because it has the 5 leaves and like the stigmata in the middle. Beautiful healer for sure. Underappreciated plant. But one of the things they were having to show me too is like, you got to slow down, man.
Yeah, and I think overall in nature and on the planet with humanity, we all have to slow down because we're all rushing to get to some place. But where are we rushing off to? I mean, honestly, right now I'm rushing off. I wouldn't mind rushing off to having $1 million in my bank account right about now. I'll be sitting pretty.
Well, here's the deal. If we rush into that, y'all aren't going to see me for about 2 years because I'm going to be in the jungle doing every dieta I can get my hands on. So, yeah, let's rush to that. Let's go.
Hey, if I had $1 million right about now, you probably would see a lot more of me in the sense of I would be inviting everyone to my retreat center to come and be well.
And be like, let's go. Let's go hang with the Mayans. That's what I think I'd take everybody on a few of those trips. I'd want to go hang with the Mayans, Lake Atitan. I'd go hang with the Yawanawa in Brazil. I'd want to go hang in India, and I would love to go hang maybe a little Africa too.
Come on.
Bali. Oh, I'd be like, let's go. We're all going. Let's get
exactly.
Let's manifest that. We're going.
Yeah, let's all manifest this together. You all know what my dreams is now. To have land, to have a place to where we can all come and be well together. Because that's what it's about. And I'm just getting a little emotional just thinking about it. I mean, can you imagine?
Dude, it makes me feel magnetic.
I know. It's like, yes, I have the land, I have the money, let's go.
Yep.
But you know what's fascinating in all of this, doing this diet along with the mushrooms, which I am so eager and I'm learning patience because they're taking a little bit longer than before to be ready. Ready to be ready, as Abraham would say. But it's just in the space of really understanding the teachings and the learnings, because part of what I'm here to do is to really learn, and I think that's part of the mimicking of nature is the learning aspect, really learning about your environment, really learning about who you are, and not just the external, because that's easy.
Yeah,
it's all about the internal. And I may have told the story once before on the show, but I remember when I was 11 years old and my teeth were coming out and my mom panicked. And so we went to the dentist. I'm like, Mom, my teeth are fine. My teeth are just coming out early. I'm okay. Nothing to worry about. Go to the dentist. My mom spends $200 and the dentist tells her the same thing I told her. So I already then knew I was already in tune with my body. And so this has been a life lesson because your body is your environment. It's consistently and constantly changing. So how can we mimic that? How can we be in tune with that? And the only way to be in tune with it is to have the teachers such as the mushrooms, to have plant teachers to really understand the internal environment. Like when something else is going wrong, when something else isn't going the way it's supposed to. Okay, well, that limb is not doing what it's supposed to do. How can we bring more life into that? Or can we divert energy into somewhere else? Because there's this amazing photo that I saw, and I keep seeing it on social media, so it must be important, where there was this tree that didn't have any roots at all. It was hanging in midair. It was suspended in midair by another tree. So this other tree was giving life to this tree that's been suspended. So it's all about community and knowing the environment and how you can really help strengthen that, bond that energy, and really just be nature.
Oh, well, I get it. I get why we may potentially not you and I and those watching right now, but we as a collective would rather mimic, and it's because being in ourselves is really difficult, and like it doesn't get easier. Like I don't know if you feel like it's gotten easier for you. I don't feel like it's gotten easier. In fact, I feel like it's gotten more confusing because now I feel the polarity more. I feel everything so much more. And so even just like last week, duality has been a big thing that's been coming up. Like I've expressed it so many times to so many people, like how could I, and probably potentially in this space where like, how can I be feeling this DNA spiral in my heart that is on one strand absolutely ecstatic magnetism for the shifting that I feel and witness around me, and also like entirely consuming detrimental at moments feeling grief just spiraled right around itself, right? And it's
Yeah.
confusing because I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, like I'm a being that I feel like I do have good, good thought processes and fairly good clarity in my life, and I'm still so vehemently confused, right? Like it's as I go in further, I
Yeah.
become more and more open and empathetic and understanding and aware. And so like I get why people would rather take the journey of saying like, "Ooh, I like that, I'll just emulate that," as opposed to walking further and further into self to say like, no, there is no emulation here. There is 100,000% being me, right? Knowing yourself that well is a backpack for sure.
Yeah. And what's fascinating is that there's all these sounds, all these frequencies of medicine, that I listen to or other people listen to. And I just find it fascinating that we put the energy and trust in that. I mean, because it's easier. It's like I don't have to take responsibility if this doesn't work. I mean, I don't believe if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. All that stuff.
Yeah.
But as you're talking, I'm sitting here envisioning a hair follicle
Hmm.
and how tiny that hair follicle is, right? So just imagine that the cell is tinier than a hair follicle. I mean, that's super microscopic size.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine, and I want everyone to do this with me, everyone who's watching, just imagine the tiniest hair follicle and the cell that's underneath the hair follicle. It could be on your head, it could be on your body, it could be anywhere. And as you imagine this tiny, tiny, tiny living life that is in your body, imagine what it can say to you right now. Imagine what message it has for you to be better, to improve upon it, to say, hey, I can use more water. Hey, stop giving me all this junk. Hey, stop dumping all this color on me. Hey, why you keep cutting me? Hey, all these messages that could come in, right? And so
Mm.
that it's about part of the mastery and why I'm doing this diet or why I am doing the mushrooms, why I'm doing all this stuff to really understand the environment. Because once you have and one of the things that I read a long time ago, when I started getting in the energy of crystals. And if anyone knows, a huge, knows me, I love crystals, but then there's the Crystal Bible of Robert Simmons. I live and swear by that book. And his descriptions are just epic. And I mean epic when
Mm.
you read the descriptions of that he writes, that he's channels. And one of the things that I remember about labradorite is that um, we never, when you have labradorite, and I'm just paraphrasing here, that one who holds labradorite doesn't wish to become have power over anyone else. They wish to have power and become the master of self. And just paraphrasing that, but just imagine, when I first thought about that, it was to the extent of, okay, well, what does that really mean? What does that mean to have power over myself? Not to exert my power over anyone. What does that really mean? And so over the years, that meaning has changed. And now as I sit here before everyone, what that has stepped into is really having power of self, meaning knowing my power, knowing the extent and limitlessness of my abilities, and just really understanding what it is that I have access to and what we all have access to. Because when, oh no, Megan, we lost her. Uh, she was doing something. I felt it, the energy, and it was proof, the energy. Um, but it's all about really understanding how we move into the power of self and really understanding the power that we truly have in our body and our environment. And welcome back.
Hi, you started talking about Labradorite, and it's like the third time it's come up for me recently, and then everything went blank. And so I was like, okay, I'll buy some Labradorite. Got it.
I love it when the universe speaks.
Dude,
You
I
know?
was like, I was laughing when it cut off. I was like, fine, okay, fine. You didn't have to kick me off. You could have just sent a memo, just sent an email. Well, I don't
Yeah,
know what I missed,
but
but I
I
like what I was
think
hearing. Power over self.
yeah, but I think this was the last mess. 'Cause, like, if she doesn't get it this time, then we're just gonna have to do something a little bit more dramatic. And spirit can be dramatic.
Nope. Trip and fall, bust my head off a piece of Labradorite or something. Like, I will listen. As soon as I get to Long Island, I know where to go. I will buy some. You will not have to tell me a fourth time, I promise.
Actually, yeah, Etsy has some really good people that sell some really amazing labradorites on Etsy. But anyway, that's a
I might just buy it tonight and send it to my mom's. It'll be there shortly after I am.
exactly. No, but it's just interesting in how now, you know, ah, this is interesting.
Mm.
So with the energy of power, we have to understand that the power doesn't belong to us. We are the power, we are the power, but it doesn't belong to us. I hope that makes sense. And so with us, with knowing that we are the power and knowing that it doesn't belong to us, this is one of the reasons why nature is the way that it is, because it shares the power in its environment. It shares what it has. It shares the resources. It shares the requirements. It shares everything, which is why when you are out in nature, it's never just one thing. It's the community,
Mm.
which is I find fascinating, but then it's also kind of funny too because I remember watching a documentary of I can't remember what it was, but one of the things that's coming to my mind is, when you're in a forest and you have the like trees in that area, and if a distant cousin or another tree seed drops in that area, they are going to ignore that tree
Mm.
because it's like, you're not our family, you're not in our community. Who are you? And I just find that fascinating. If it's not part of the ecosystem, then it doesn't receive the proper nutrients.
Mhm.
So it has to fight a little bit more to survive in that space if that's something that it wishes to do. And I think that's for all of us. I mean, we have to find our environment. We have to find things that nurture us.
Ooh, yeah. I'm really mm, so I'm at my grandma's and I'm on dieta and my grandma's Italian and
Oh no.
oh no. And I feel like I've ruined a huge piece of connectivity there, and for a moment it had me feeling really like out of place in like in my family, and then that kind of spread to how I feel a little out of place in the world. And ultimately, I'm really grateful for what's been alive and what's been coming up in all of it, because today I was really sitting in like, wow, I'm kind of weird. I am kind of a black sheep of the world, and I really like that, right? Because like how liberating and freeing for me to I don't know, just realize that like I don't have to do this game of emulation, and like I can walk deeper into my power by realizing that sometimes that power sets me apart from others or environments, certain locations, certain situations, certain books, whatever it may be, you know?
Mm.
And nature never bitches about it when it's right, when they're not in the right environment, or when the tides turn or whatever is going on and the earth rumbles and a cliff falls. It just adjusts, right? It doesn't cry about it. And so like when you were saying that, I like the way those two bridged together. In
Yeah,
yeah, you have to find your environments, and when you find environments or find yourself in environments where you start to realize, this might not be the one for me, like, cool, you know, it doesn't have to be an abandonment, it doesn't have to be a reflection of a less version or a lesser piece of self. Just find your environments,
yeah,
and you'll know the spaces and the people and the information and the traditions that light you up, and
yeah.
show you your unique signature and make you love your unique signature, not only show you.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of helping people find their unique signature, I think it's time for the tune-up. What about you?
Feeling ready to tune.
All this talk about power and mimicking people and finding your tribe and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the whole conversation led us to this moment, you know.
Mm.
It led us to, and actually, no, I'm being guided, and I usually don't do this, but being guided to share with you two things. One, of course, you guys see me with this every week. It's my Lamora healing rod. I use it every week, just for you guys on the tune-up. And the most recent guy companion, talk about personal power, is this guy.
Ooh.
And so I didn't wear it around my neck for the show purposefully, but this is from the same creator of the Lemoyne Healing Rod, and it's personal power chamber. So it's for you to access your personal power in different ways and from different spaces. So I've really been working with it this week, but I can't wait to the weekend where I can really, really work with it. Um,
I feel
yeah,
that as soon as you put that on the screen.
yeah, I know that's why I had to take it away. Um, and I'm just full of stuff. See and this will just go show how much I really am committed to working with myself. And that's confirmation. So everyone knows Star Wars, right? And everyone knows about the Jedi. And you know where I'm going with this, Megan. I think you already know. And so the Jedi is not a group of beings, it's actual tool. It's a tool that has been used for hundreds of thousands of years. It was used in Lemuria, it was used in Atlantis, and it's a way to conduct energy and to connect to energy. I just, I'm just reading what Patty wrote. It's like I
Uh-huh.
did a Yoda impersonation,
I
yes.
heard it when I read it.
And
I
so
didn't hear
this
it.
guy is called Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you and Megan knows because she saw the documentaries about it. And this one is filled with nano silver. And so I've been working with this a lot too.
Mm.
And so it's really connecting to some of that ancient energy. And so if you guys want any of these tools, message me. Most they are on Etsy, but let me know if you guys are interested and I can connect you with the right people to get the right tools. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Very buzzy. Oh my goodness. This is how you walk around all day, all these things on you.
So yeah,
Just
sometimes, yeah, but the thing is, this is the funny thing about it. I don't notice it.
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it just feel like it just feels like it feels like it's been a part of my field for so long, and it's just more harmonized. It's not like bzzz, like I'm gonna pass out when I first got my first piece of shungite. No, it's more like, oh yeah, this feels familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so yeah,
There's a couple things I want to get of that nature. Yeah. That
yeah,
those personal talismans that have been calling to be worked with. So another reminder you've given me today. Thank you.
yeah. Awesome. So I think I'm ready. Is there anything special that needs to come through from my little book of symbols? Okay. With me and my congested nose.
Mm.
So, no. Well, yes. Okay, fine.
I love watching this conversation pan out.
I know, right? So, wherever you are, taking a nice big deep breath, or as deep as you can go, and let go. And for those of you that have been watching the show for the entirety of this evening, just remember the conversation that you had with that one teeny tiny cell that's connected to that hair follicle. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that one hair follicle, that one cell, but just as a reference point. So find that one teeny tiny aspect in you, this seed of life and light. Take a deep breath in this moment. And when you find it, when you connect with it, you'll just know. And there's no need to search. Just feel. Feel where this is in your body, whether it's in your heart, in your kidneys, or in your lungs, or in your bone, or in any other aspect of system. Because this cell, the original cell, this that carries this original blueprint, moves throughout the body, whether if it's in your mind, your brain, your eyes, wherever. And as you hone in and connect to this divine cell, this spark of light, this life, this is your power. And allow for this power to make itself known to you, to allow for this energy to rise up to you, to meet you, to greet you, to have a conversation with you, to have a conversation with your higher self inside yourself. And allowing for this energy to speak to you, not just in this moment, but in the moments to come, when you rest this evening, or even when you rest this weekend. Allowing for this cell to speak to you in the way that you ask for it to speak to you, to command for it to make itself known to you, to become alive, more alive in you, to help you to remember who you are, to know your truth, to know the wisdom as you create with this spark and this partnership of universal energies that are here to present themselves, to hold you, to guide you, to love you in new and brilliant ways, to mimic the energy of nature, to mimic the energy of flow, to have patience, and to make sure that all the requirements are satisfied in this environment, to allow for your environment internally and externally to meet the beauty that you have within you, to be one in the harmonious field of energy, to connect to the beauty that truly resonates with who you are, to be one in the space of acknowledging creation, to be one in the space of energy, to be one with self, the true master. And just take a deep breath in this moment and just allow yourself to come back into this space, come back into full awareness that you have this new connection of self, that you are self, that you are this being, you are this light, you are this energy, you are that you have claimed yourself to be, and your body, your environment is a reflection of that. And allow yourself to know, to honor, and recognize that. Aho.
That was wild.
Ah,
I like that. I would love to take like a 45-minute guided journey into that cell.
okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah, that would be super awesome.
So for those who are interested, I probably will be doing that in a group setting. I mean, to connect to your power.
Yeah, wow, that was really visceral.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I haven't done much guided online stuff recently, and so this would be that. This would be that thing.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, connecting to Thank you, Spirit. I know where this is going to go now.
Yes. Yes, I can't wait to be a part of that. I love it. See, who needs to mimic and emulate when you can just be and spirit can give you all the messages you need?
Exactly. Exactly. And everyone, you're so welcome. I'm glad that you were able to participate in this at your capacity to allow for what is for you to come to you and allow me to have the reminder of like, hey, you should be doing this more often. And so it's just beautiful and how the expressiveness comes through in that. And who knows, one day, not today because I'm enjoying it too much, probably will no longer require these things.
Mm-hmm.
And when that time comes, I will have to find a way to do something with these special tools because they're attuned to my energy. But yeah, that's the beauty of all of this is that they're teachers, and one day we won't need the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Goals.
but before we end, I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know the answer, but I think just for dialogue, what would happen if we truly stepped into the space of no longer having the requirement, I've been using that word a lot, of teachers or math? Because granted, we are all students, we are all teachers, and some of us even embody the master energy. But what would that be like? How would that show up? If we didn't have a requirement to have the plant teachers or the energy teachers or the teachers of this full embodiment that you and I are. What would that be like? That would be really interesting. I mean, of course, it would be in the ethers, where
Yeah.
they're all masters in the ethers, but here in this physical plane.
I think it I don't know. I don't have an answer for the physical plane because
Right.
my mind says, well, we'd probably be, I've been, as I mentioned, really deeply immersed in the Law of One books, and um, I think we'd be on a different dimension. I think that's probably a 6 or 7D encapsulation because
Yeah.
we then at that point merge. So we merge with creator, and therefore we don't per se need a teacher because we already are all knowing now. And from what
Right.
I understand, I think that's a capacity of like a 7D.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
and I got and I got the answers he was talking in this physical space. There will always be a teacher.
yeah, I think humans are too unruly to not need teachers. Even myself, who I feel like
No, no,
no,
not unruly. No, not
well, maybe
unruly.
that's not the best word, but
I know where you're going with this, but I think I talked about this one night. Is that when we first were put here with this experiment, there was a planet that didn't have teachers, that didn't have guides on them. And they thrived wonderfully because there was nothing to guide them. They understood their environment and they thrived amazingly. But the place that had the teachers, they were slowed down in their development. So just
hmm,
imagine if you had to go off into the world, which is why we have free will, because I mean, free will.
yeah.
You can't tell me what to do, but just imagine that we truly have free will. But do we really have free will right now? No, we don't. It's our free will. Well, our free will is imposed upon through other means. See, look, this is a whole other show.
Yeah, we gotta save this thought because this is a whole nother show. But yeah, that's hard. That's I'm yeah. I would need a moment, I think, to sit upon this throne and evaluate because it's
Yeah,
hard for
let's
me
talk
to
about
even.
this next week because it gives us time to
Yeah,
make. Yeah, it gives us time to think about this, and plus Rebecca will be back, and this would be an amazing conversation for us to have a world without teachers.
God, honestly, I feel a little anxiety about that
Yeah,
because I'm such a nerd and I'm such a student and like oh my god, a world without Claudia Costa, my fucking excuse my language, sorry, my combo teacher. Like
yeah,
I can't even imagine it. Like a world without you know these people that have had to sometimes stern me into like that's not how we do things, or no, I can't
yeah,
imagine that world. But also I am creative and imaginative enough to um dream about what could be the positive aspects of that world.
yeah,
So yeah, I need some time to daydream upon this, I think.
yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be a
I
good
can't
one.
wait. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And so, any closing last words, dear Megan?
Oh, feel it all. Just feel it all. And even when it feels like what you're feeling is a direct contradiction and opposition to what you're feeling, feel it. And I'm noticing, I think I shared a few shows back, I'm noticing these themes, whether it be in myself or with communication, particularly with some of my most aware and disciplined and tapped in folks, where there was this big message of how important the discipline was. Well, that message has remained and been compounded now with duality. Get comfortable with the duality, get
Yeah,
comfortable with sitting in sensations that feel opposite to each other sometimes. I think that where we're heading, we're gonna have to go through these peaks and valleys where it's like, wow, that was really not great. But
Yeah.
wow, what came from that was really great. How do I feel? So yeah, I would say get comfortable being in the duality of all sensations and feelings.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. And until Rebecca comes back, in
Yes.
honor of her, don't limit yourself. Create your next time.